busy broadcast week here on the Dan O'Donnell Show with a very simple question that doesn't appear to have an answer. Who the bleep is running this country right now? It's clearly not Joe Biden, and it's clearly not Kamala Harris. We have got one of the most devastating hurricanes in the history of this country, leaving dozens and dozens and dozens of people dead, a trail of devastation from Tennessee to North Carolina. Abroad, we are inching closer to a potential World War III scenario with targeted strikes of Hezbollah leaders, including the head honcho Hassan Nasrallah in Yemen, and the president has no idea about any of it. We will get to that, but first, a brand new contest here on the Dan O'Donnell Show and across all iHeartMedia stations. If you've been listening to us for a long time, and I know you have, you're well aware of it. It is the Fall Fortune Cash Contest. We usually do it at the end of September, early October, pretty much every single year. In fact, every single year I've been doing a show, I believe we have been doing this contest. Here's how it works. You go to our website, you enter a keyword, and you win $1,000 in cash instantly if your entry is picked at random. We do it pretty much every season. And then there's a bonus contest, the iHeartRadio Music Festival Flyaway Contest in September that just ended. This one is not a text-in extravaganza. You go to our website, that's newstalk1130.com. If you're listening to us on our flagship, WISN, WIBA.com. If you're listening to us on the great 1310 in Madison, we are playing every hour from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. across all iHeartRadio stations. Let's kick it off right now. The nationwide keyword this hour in the Fall Fortune Cash Contest is Bills. B-I-L-L-S, Bills. As in the Buffalo Bills didn't show up last night against the Baltimore Ravens in Sunday Night Football. You have until 55 past this hour to go to our website and enter the keyword Bills to enter the contest for this hour. $1,000 on the line. 9, 10, 11, noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 p.m. every single weekday from now until Friday, November 15th. So we are playing this contest for a month and a half. Should be a whole lot of fun, and I guarantee we will get a whole lot of winners. Why? Because we always get a whole lot of winners. So if you are not aware, to sort of catch you up on what was going on over the weekend, because it was a gorgeous weekend, about as perfect weather as we could have gotten for the final weekend in September. I spent it on the soccer field, of course. It was homecoming weekend, so I had to go to the football game, had to take pictures of my son and the date and the friends and all of that stuff. It was a lot of fun, wonderful HOCO weekend. And my son, because he and his girlfriend go to different schools, he's actually going to another homecoming next weekend. So basically, the party never stops for Junior O'Donnell. But there's a lot going on in the world. And Israel undertook what I think might be one of the most impressive military operations, possibly, I don't want to say in world history, because we'd have to go back to Alexander the Great, essentially conquering the entire world before he turned 30. We would have to talk about Napoleon's conquest. But this, in terms of a single action, this was pretty good. In targeted strikes, Israel essentially took out the entire leadership structure of Hezbollah. The longtime leader, Hassan Nasrallah, dead. His successor served for about 2.5 days, also dead. In fact, pretty much anyone who was ever anyone in this terror organization was taken out. Naturally, President Biden was asked about the targeted strikes in Yemen that killed all of these Hezbollah leaders. Now, I will grant you this is very difficult to hear because this is one of these tarmac impromptu interviews where reporters are shouting questions to him. His answer made me genuinely terrified about the leadership structure in the United States of America.
Mr. President, will you deploy more U.S. troops to the Middle East?
Mr. President, has Netanyahu gone too far?
Any comment on the strikes in Yemen, Mr. President?
I think they'll settle the strike.
In case you couldn't hear that, the questions were clearly about Yemen. Mr. President, has Netanyahu gone too far? Only a left-wing reporter could say, yes, the premise of the question is that Netanyahu has gone too far against a terror organization as designated by the United States government and much of the rest of the world nearly a year after the October 7th terror attacks that were conducted by Hamas with the support of Hezbollah and other related terror groups, and while hostages are still in Hamas' hands. While Hezbollah has declared war in its charter, for goodness sakes, it calls for the eradication of Israel. Yes, but Netanyahu has gone too far. Now, this is, of course, embedded in this premise, the exact sort of war that the left wants Israel to fight. Well, why don't they just target the leadership? Why are there so many civilians killed? Why did they go in and raze Gaza? Why can't they do targeted strikes? They do targeted strikes, and this is still too far for the left-wing press. But the question is, has Netanyahu gone too far? Mr. President, the situation in Yemen. Then finally, a female reporter you could hear says, Mr. President, do you have any comment on the strikes in Yemen? Biden walks up and says, I've spoken to both sides. They got to settle the strike. I'm supporting the collective bargaining effort. I think they'll settle the strike. He thought the questions were not about strikes by the Israeli military against terror leaders, but rather some sort of strike, we presume, because there's a dock workers strike going on. Listen to this again. I grant that it's very difficult to hear. Turn down, pull over in your car so you don't get that ambient noise from traveling down the freeway. Please don't do this if you're actually on the freeway, but listen very carefully. Now, the video is out there. I believe I reposted this on X. If not, I'll do so while the soundbite is playing. This is honest to goodness remarkable.
Mr. President, will you deploy more U.S. troops to the Middle East?
Mr. President, has Netanyahu gone too far?
Any comment on the strikes in Yemen, Mr. President?
Both sides have got to settle the strike. Support the collective bargaining effort. I think they'll settle the strike.
I think they'll settle. No, it seems like Israel did settle the strike, and I would think they won the negotiation. Now, Democrats are trying to say, okay, and this is a reasonable explanation. I think the most reasonable explanation, if we're applying Occam's razor here, is the President of the United States' brains are currently applesauce. But their explanation is he didn't hear the questions. And this is, you could barely hear anything. You know, Air Force One is roaring. It's a tarmac. It's very difficult to hear. I will admit my hearing is nowhere near where it was even 10 years ago. I can only imagine when I turn 187 like Joe Biden, it'll be even worse. And all he heard was strike. That doesn't exactly explain. If all he heard was strike, you would think the logical thing for a fully functioning adult, if he didn't really hear the question, he would say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You're talking about the dock workers strike? They say, no, Mr. President, the Yemen strikes, the Yemeni strikes. Oh, okay. And then he would, of course, have been briefed on this and answer, but he didn't. Speaking of the dock workers strike, this also sort of disproves this left-wing theory that everyone in the Biden administration is just so hyper-focused on this dock worker strike. Here's Biden's Secretary of Commerce this morning on Fox Business, Gina Raimondo, asked about that strike.
Where have you been kind of focused and hearing on what would happen if the strike goes, let's say, longer than a week?
Again, I have not been very focused on that.
So nobody's actually focused on the dock workers strike. President Biden merely has no idea what he's talking about. Such a reassuring thought when the United States, the southern portion, the southeast, has just been absolutely leveled by Hurricane Helene. Tampa and the Big Bend area of Florida took the direct hit, but that was not the big issue. Like almost exactly 19 years ago with Hurricane Katrina, the issue was flooding. And the issue wasn't in the areas that took a direct hit, but rather in Tennessee and especially in the area surrounding Asheville, North Carolina, where unfortunately a very good friend of mine lives and we think is doing okay. I was actually at his brother's house on Saturday night and was spending time with their family, and they said, we think that our brother and sister-in-law are okay. Actually, I'm very good friends with his wife, too. Went to high school with all of them. Lifelong friends, played soccer with them. And they think everybody's okay, but they are totally cut off. They have no cell phone. They have no means of communication. They hopefully filled up a bathtub with water, so they have water to drink. I mean, nobody expected that the flooding from what essentially amounted to a tropical depression as Helene was losing strength over the past couple of days would lead to the widespread flooding and devastation as far away as Tennessee and also in North Carolina. The death toll has now climbed to nearly 100 people. The monetary damage is almost incalculable. There are people who they've lost everything. And you can see the videos. It's remarkable how little press coverage that this has gotten. And I'm going to give the national press a little bit of cover here because I actually understand why. As opposed to Hurricane Katrina, where New Orleans was always going to take a direct hit from Katrina. So the press had reporters down there already. There were cameras already trained on the levees and the neighborhoods that would subsequently be destroyed. Remember, it was immediately believed that Katrina, while it did deal a significant blow to New Orleans, that New Orleans would be ultimately okay. It was only about a day later when the levees failed that the flooding killed as many people as it did and did as much damage as it did. In Asheville and in Tennessee, there was no indication that the flooding would be nearly as bad as it would be, that it would trigger as many mudslides as it did. Obviously, there's always that concern, but all of the press's reporters, the CNNs, the CBSs, and the like, were down in Florida where the storm was going to take a direct hit. Now, since Asheville is completely inaccessible, it's impossible to get people down there. So I was watching over the weekend, people are saying, well, only on TikTok, only on X can you find videos of this. And while that is true, only local coverage, it's primarily because the national cameras are physically barred from getting into Asheville, which is apparently now only accessible by air. Governor Ron DeSantis is giving an update on Hurricane Helene response. Producer Dave, let's dip into the governor who appears to be doing far more than the federal government right now. Folks, to give this Hurricane Katrina comparison, I remember I was 23, 24 years old and a young reporter, also a law school student, when Hurricane Katrina hit. And all of it was blamed on George W. Bush and the lack of a federal response. There is no federal response anywhere outside of the areas that took a direct hit. And in fact, we'll get back to President Applesauce brains on this in just a second. But you'll notice there is no blame coming to the lack of federal preparation for President Biden or Vice President Harris. Here's Governor Ron DeSantis.
After the storm, we had HOPE buses deployed to Taylor and Madison counties, also Pasco and Manatee over the weekend. Now we have 5 HOPE buses. Bridge Church in Madison, 9 a.m. to 12. Alton Church of God Family Life Center in Mayo, 12 to 5. Steinhatchee Community Center, 10 to 4. State College of Florida in Bradenton, 12 to 5. James P. Gill's Family YMCA of West Pasco and Trinity, 10 to 2. So if you do go to the HOPE, you can call the HOPE line too. You don't have to go to the bus, but if you go to the bus.
All right, President DeSantis, wouldn't that be nice? He's acting like President DeSantis. President Trump, by the way, will be down in Georgia helping to distribute hurricane relief supplies later today. I almost said it again. This is like wishful thinking here. 2028 election. After a successful second term by President Trump, well, I think then it would probably be J.D. Vance, the likely presidential candidate, but you better believe that DeSantis will be running again. Governor DeSantis, who is also putting his National Guard, he's mobilizing Florida's National Guard because obviously, while it's very, very bad in Florida, the situation is more of an immediate danger to people who are still in a life-threatening situation in North Carolina. He's actually sent some Florida National Guard troops out to North Carolina. He's talking primarily about stuff that's of a local interest, so we'll keep monitoring this and get back to it. Now, compare that. DeSantis has been all over. He is, I don't believe, slept a wink since about Thursday. President Biden, also on the tarmac yesterday. Where do you suppose he was? You'd better believe he was on the beach in Delaware. I told you it was a beautiful late September weekend, pretty much all across the country, except the areas devastated by Helene. You'd better believe he was soaking up the last couple of days of sunshine on the beach. Afterwards, he was asked about the damage from Hurricane Helene, and his response further solidifies this idea that he is just completely and totally
Yes, it's tragic. Matter of fact, we're trying to get the exact number. My FEMA advisor is on the ground in Florida right now. There's a distinction between the numbers that FEMA's used and the ones that are used by the locals. So it really is amazing. You saw the photographs. It's stunning.
It's unbelievable. But
it really is.
Such a wide area.
And we've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them. We have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
Any additional resources for North Carolina, Mr. President? No, we've given them everything we have. We had a significant federal response even before they had asked for it. Now, this is rather obviously not true. I'd like to believe the federal government will give at least as much money to rebuilding a devastated American city as we're giving Ukraine every 6 months. But President Biden clearly has no idea what he's talking about. The federal government has not exhausted its hurricane relief. President Biden just doesn't know what exactly is going on. And why would he? He's not actually in charge, and rather obviously hasn't been for the past nearly 4 years. There has been a steady and suddenly very fast decline in his mental faculties. And the only thing that Democrats and the people surrounding him cared about was the fact that he wasn't going to be able to win an election, so they needed to get him to step down as the candidate. As the president, as the most powerful man in America, that's just fine. In fact, right after that presidential debate on this radio show, the morning after June 28th, I'll never forget it. The thing that absolutely boggled my mind, after every single Democrat suddenly coalesced around the same message, President Biden's brain is gone. He is not fit to run for president again. I asked a very simple question. Why is nobody considering the possibility that if he's too mentally impaired to run for president, he's also too mentally impaired to serve as president? With a potential World War III in the Middle East and quite possibly the worst, most widespread devastation from a natural disaster since Hurricane Katrina, possibly since Hurricane Harvey. But Helene is one of the most destructive storms that we've seen this century, and possibly in terms of the death toll and in terms of just how much damage it's caused, one of the most devastating in recorded history in this country. Yes, I know Asheville, believe it or not, was devastated by a hurricane before in 1916. So before we start blaming global warming for the increase in strength of frequency, the increase in frequency and increase in strength of hurricanes, just know that this exact same area was destroyed before more than 100 years ago. But I digress. President Biden is nowhere to be found, or rather, he's there, but he's not there. At least when Woodrow Wilson suffered a debilitating stroke, his wife Edith nobly stepped in an era before women even had the right to vote and served as president. It's a very, very fascinating story. We did a Forgotten History episode on this the last time it became apparent that President Biden was not mentally or physically up to the job of serving as president a couple of years ago. We have nobody. We have, as I have long joked, a nameless, faceless cabal of 30 and 40-something they-thems who are actually running this country. Clearly, Kamala isn't. She posted late last night a picture of her. You ready for this? She posted a picture of herself with papers spread around. I believe she's on Air Force Two as she's going out campaigning. And she's saying, I am monitoring the situation across the Southeast, because people were saying, Madam Vice President, why have you not said a single thing about the hurricane? You would think President Biden is incommunicado all weekend. He's passed out on a beach somewhere. You would think the Vice President, you would think just politically, this would seem like, think about it just through the lens of craven politics. One would think it would behoove the Vice President of the United States to hold a press conference wherever she is and say, I have talked to representatives at FEMA, at NOAA, here is what we're doing, here is how, show us that you're in, because she isn't doing that, because all she cares about is running for president. This ultimately is the rub, that Democrats have an alarming trend of not really governing effectively or caring much about governing effectively, only about the seizing of power and the wielding of power, not the actual day-to-day governance, but rather simply the acquiring of power. It was evident the second nobody in the world called for Joe Biden to step down as president. I'm still convinced that the reason they did that is they spent a full month game planning the scenarios that they could go past Kamala Harris to try to find somebody else to run for president. Obviously, if Kamala Harris is the president of the United States because Biden resigns his office, which he rather obviously should have, she is going to run for what would essentially amount to a first term. She would actually still be allowed to run for 2 terms and serve more than 8 years. Kamala Harris, too, has a, shall we say, interesting history when it comes to talking about hurricane relief, and we will get to that coming up next when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns.
The countdown is on, and there won't be another presidential debate before the election, but there will be a vice presidential debate. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for the Democrats.
Kamala Harris is going to stand up and fight for your freedom.
And Ohio Senator J.D. Vance for the Republicans.
We're going to close down that border.
2 vice presidential hopefuls go one-on-one for their first and only time. Tomorrow night at 9 Eastern. Hear it right here or listen on iHeart's 24/7 news channel. Just open the free app and search Debate.
Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. It's truck season at Lynch. It's fall and hunting season is right around the corner. So maybe it's time you upgrade your truck, and the place to do it is at Lynch. This month at Lynch, buy any new car or truck and receive a $500 accessory gift card. Plus, Lynch has financing as low as 1.9% to get you into the truck of your dreams. Whether it's the F-150, Maverick, Ranger, Silverado, Colorado, Sierra, or Ram, nobody sells for less than Lynch. With over 350 trucks in stock and top dollar for your trade, it'll be easy to find the perfect truck at one of their convenient locations. Lynch Chevrolet of Mukwonago, Lynch Ford of Mukwonago, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Mukwonago, Lynch Chevrolet of Kenosha, Lynch Buick GMC in West Bend, and of course, the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington. Or search the huge Lynch selection and shop 24 hours a day at shoplynch.com.
I'm Matt, and I'm a former Trump voter. One of my biggest beefs with Donald Trump is that with him, anybody who doesn't agree with him is a radical, is a lunatic, is a leftist, a Marxist, a communist, somebody out to destroy America. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris because I don't want to live in a world that's all about hatred and retribution and getting even with your neighbors and getting rid of people who are different from me.
Republican Accountability PAC, Inc., paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. ra-pac.org.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than what we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with a proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
President Biden is set to give his first update on Helene, likely to say she's a wonderful woman. That's why we promoted her throughout the federal government. She's doing a great job. No, Mr. President, the hurricane. The hurricane. Oh, yes, the hurricane. Well, the Hurricanes football team is looking good this year. I think they could get a bit better. Think about this for a second. The hurricane struck on Thursday. We knew how bad things were in Asheville by probably Friday evening, I would say. The first we're hearing from the President of the United States is Monday at any time between 9:33 and probably 10 o'clock. We will bring President Biden's remarks to you live, if only to solidify my horror at the fact that we are currently leaderless here in the United States. Back in 2022, Kamala Harris, vice president, current candidate for president, was talking at a women's leadership summit. It was, was it 2 years ago today? Yeah, it appears to have been 2 years ago today, September 30th. At least that's when the story on it came out, that Kamala Harris believes hurricane relief should be distributed based on, say it with me, everybody, principles of racial equity.
It is our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. And so women. Absolutely. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities and do that work.
Now, the reason I couldn't remember exactly when she gave those remarks was because the story I found that accompanied that audio soundbite was, of course, Kamala Harris's remarks on hurricane relief taken out of context. No, it seems like the context was pretty darn clear. because minorities and women have it much more difficult because of the toxic masculinity and systemic racism in the United States, we need to make sure that we are distributing our hurricane relief and storm relief according to equity principles. Oh, it's taken out of context. Really? Well, how about this? According to FEMA's website, this is available at FEMA.gov. FEMA's Goal 1, quote, this is FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. You would think Goal 1 would be, I don't know, manage emergencies? That's just me. What do I know? FEMA, Goal 1, instill equity as a foundation of emergency management. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot vote these people out of office fast enough.
Keep in touch with Dan on Twitter at Dan O'Donnell Show. More of the show next.
The U.S. Constitution divides the government into 3 equally important branches, and when they all work together, great things happen. Now, all of us here at Mr. Holland's Home Services aren't constitutional scholars, but we do know how to maintain the 3 most important branches of your home. Instead of Congress, you get heating and cooling. In place of the Supreme Court, you get superior electrical work, and swap the president with proficient plumbing so you can drain the swamp. Just like Washington, when all 3 work together, they bring harmony to your home. But if your plumbing, electric, or heating and air goes into full veto mode, cast your vote for Mr. Holland's Home Services. Our bipartisan exploratory committee of crackerjack technicians cut through the red tape to find and filibuster the problems that plague your most important constituents. Visit MrHollandsHomeservices.com or call our campaign headquarters at 866-992-1717. We're Mr. Holland's Home Services, and we approve this message.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for my friends at Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you wherever you are in southeast Wisconsin. I've been a loyal Mander customer for nearly 8 years now because of their skill and price, sure, but also because their customer service is the sort you can only get at a 3rd-generation family business. But don't just take my word for it. Here's Colleen, who writes, I just recently had my car repaired at Mander, and they were amazing in every way. Special shout out to Noelle at the front desk for always being available and providing updates. Very much appreciated. So too is your testimonial, Colleen, because I have heard dozens and dozens just like it. People talk about the great experience they have at Mander because it really is the best decision you can make after a collision. With 7 locations to serve you, you can start your repair easily at mandercollision.com. That's mandercollision.com.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services. Freedom is a wonderful yet fragile ideal. Freedom empowers us to be great and do great things, individually and as a nation. As Americans, we are the stewards of freedom, and we are responsible for its preservation. This starts with voting. Voting is a privilege, and we are obligated to research and select leaders who stand for the promise of the American dream. Our choice for president cannot be driven solely by opposition to one candidate. And while not voting or choosing a third party is our right, we must ask, are these choices the best way to protect our freedoms? Our vote is precious. Let us remember that freedom is a privilege paid for by the lives of countless men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice. By making informed, selfless choices on Election Day, we honor their legacy and the legacy of freedom. From all the landscape experts at Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services, may God bless you and may God bless America.
Affordable Dentures and Implants practices in the Milwaukee area make new smiles affordable every day, so you don't need to wait another day to get your smile back. Visit us in Milwaukee, Kenosha, or Menominee Falls. Call 1-800-DENTURE. Affordable Dentures and Implants.
Go ahead and smile.
The next time you're due for service, visit richlands.com to schedule an appointment at any of our 5 conveniently located facilities.
All AAA approved and all staffed by ASE certified technicians ready to serve you.
Richlands.
Hi, I'm Dewey Strobel. When I learned that 1 in 7 Wisconsinites struggle with literacy and that only 13% of elementary students at our state's largest school district read at grade level, I knew we had to do something. Reading is the #1 building block for learning, and our kids were falling behind. So I introduced and passed a bipartisan literacy bill to develop a proven phonics-based curriculum and give schools the resources they need to implement it. Teaching our kids to read isn't partisan. I worked with elected officials from both sides of the aisle to get this bill signed into law by Governor Evers. Because to keep our state moving forward, we have to make sure our kids have the tools they need to be successful. I'm Dewey Strobel, and when Wisconsin is facing serious issues, you can count on me to cut through the partisan gridlock and deliver results for you and your family. I'd be honored to earn your vote for State Senate this November. Paid for by Dewey for Senate.
Life is precious, but it could all get taken away in an instant. That's why a 4-week emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply belongs in your home. It's got everything you could need during a crisis. With over 2,000 calories per day, there's enough to go around during times of social unrest, government crackdowns, or God forbid, an attack on the homeland. The food lasts up to 25 years, ready whenever disaster strikes. We've seen mass panic in our lifetimes before. Some were not that long ago. So don't take your family's safety for granted. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and save $50 on your 4-week emergency food kit. And My Patriot Supply will ship it for free as fast as humanly possible. Get your 4-week emergency food kit now at MyPatriotSupply.com. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Sometimes it's hard to figure out what to do about things like retirement planning, selling a business, or building your legacy. So when other advisors present products packed with commissions, you start to wonder, is this advice or a sales pitch? Annex Wealth Management is a fee-only fiduciary. No commission products, just clear thinking when it comes to investment, retirement, tax, and estate planning. Head to AnnexWealth.com, click the Get Started button. It only takes a couple of minutes. Know the difference with a fee-only fiduciary. That's Annex Wealth Management.
A tour de force of truth. The sort of truth that the rest of the media, well, we think they used to report it. We like to imagine that they used to report it. Now they ignore it or outright cover it up. Well, Hurricane Helene was devastating the southern part of the country. And by the way, we are awaiting President Biden speaking from the White House. Did you notice that they got rid of that little fake White House set from a couple of years ago? That just popped into my mind. Do you remember that, Dave? Yeah, you remember that. Producer Dave, back after a week off. You enjoyed the Tennessee Titans game, I trust? He says a lot better than the Vikings game. Actually, the Vikings game turned out to be a pretty darn good game, and we'll talk about it perhaps if we have time. I think way too much blame is being placed on the kicker. He only made the two most glaring mistakes. You get down 28-0. You have absolutely no business winning a football game. And all those of you, I feel like I should read some of your Facebook posts after the first half of that game. Sit Jordan Love. Start Malik Willis. The Packers aren't a playoff team. Look, the Minnesota Vikings are, I hate to say it, a very, very, very good team. They've got the best receiver in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. They've probably got the best defense in the NFL. And most importantly, they look like they've actually upgraded at quarterback with Sam Darnold, who has been cast off from how many different teams, finally found a home in Minnesota. And oh yeah, they had a significant upgrade at running back with a guy you might have heard of. And I didn't get a chance to cover it last week, but Aaron Jones's article in the Players Tribune, I'm sure it was covered a whole lot in local media. Just a class act. And my goodness, as good as Josh Jacobs has been this season, and I'm sure he's a fine guy, man, is Aaron Jones the single most impossible to root against human being? He was saying he was going to look for some Minnesota Vikings fans to do a Lambeau leap. I'm actually thinking, had he done a Lambeau leap into a group of Packers fans, they would have accepted it. They would have hugged him. They would have said, we hate that you're on. This is not a Brett Favre on the Vikings thing. And also, how about Jordan Love? You talk about great guys to root for. He shows up to the game wearing the Brett Favre jersey after Favre's announcement that he has Parkinson's disease. Just guys worth rooting for. The Packers are going to be fine. I don't think they rushed Jordan Love back. Yes, he looked rusty with the 3 interceptions. He also led some great drives to get right back into that game. But while Hurricane Helene was devastating the country, the Wisconsin Democratic Party was doing what it does best ever since the 2020 lockdowns. They have been reuniting the casts of shows that appeal to left-wingers. They started it with, in 2020, you might remember, reuniting the cast of The West Wing. If there is a show that liberals salivated over more than The Left Wing, I would love to hear it. Yes, I know I called it The Left Wing, Dave, and while that was a mistake, that was sort of a fortuitous Freudian slip. In fact, a lot of people did, while it was running, call it The Left Wing because it was a fictitious version of a liberal president's administration. Well, last night, they reunited the cast of the show Veep. Aired on HBO some years ago. It starred Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and they got the whole cast back together, or at least a whole lot of the cast, to raise money for Kamala Harris. I think something was lost on them. Because the irony of the Wisconsin Dems raising money for Kamala by reuniting the cast of a show that mocked an idiot vice president who behaved exactly like Kamala was frankly perfect. Now, before Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the show's star, did that reunion via Zoom, she was on MSNBC's Ari Melber show and talked about why it is that she's supporting Kamala Harris, and her answer, I think, perfectly summarizes the state of liberal politics. I know nothing about the issues, but I think my side has the better people.
I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert on various issues that we're up against today, but I do feel strongly about who our leaders should be as an American citizen, and I would really like it if the discourse could become kinder and more effective. And I think that will be the case with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in office. And because I think they are people who are for the people.
That is just every liberal wine ant you have ever known in your life. They're people who are for the people. Unhinged Lib, next.
Hey, Sean Hannity here, talking with the only real estate agent in your market I recommend, Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. Now, what's your take on the market today?
Sean, it's a great question. I've answered it before with you, and things are very similar now as they've been in the past. Interest rates are still up at around 7%, but buyers don't mind. They are out shopping for houses. They don't care about the rate. They care about the house, because this is the new norm. Rates have been above 7% for well over a year now, and they can always refinance in the future when they drop. But right now we have a supply and demand issue like we've never seen before. And the truth is, there are far more buyers than sellers, and prices are still continuing to go up.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Talk to the only agent in town I recommend. Just go to wihomeeval.com. That's wihomeeval.com. Or just Google Team Hoffman and check out over 700 five-star reviews.
Donald Trump's back, and he's out for control.
I would have every right to go after them.
Complete control.
I will wield that power very aggressively.
And he has a plan to get it.
Detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do.
It's called Project 2025, a 922-page blueprint to make Donald Trump the most powerful president ever. Overhauling the Department of Justice, giving Trump the unchecked power to seek vengeance, eliminating the Department of Education, and defunding K-12 schools, requiring the government to monitor women's pregnancies, and Trump has also proposed severe cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Those are Donald Trump's plans.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that. And sometimes revenge can be justified.
He'll take control, we'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message. Paid for by Harris for President.
This is Mike and Jim from Brillo Home Improvements. Okay, Jim, here's the thing I sometimes struggle with. We have this very down-to-earth approach that we hope appeals to everybody. And after this long, I'm pretty sure it does. But does it always translate to folks that we're completely in touch with style and design that defines today?
Well, that's why we have to talk more about Melissa and Rachel. I mean, with their sense of style and design ideas, they're totally with it, and a huge asset to this company.
Yeah, they sure are. Okay. Well, folks, if you're looking for style and design ideas for your home that can range from contemporary to traditional, and a team that can apply current home trends, yet still help make your project timeless, first, go to BrilloHomeImprovements.com and take a look at our latest work.
Then, give us a call, and let's talk about what you want to get started on. For an area award-winning home remodeling that will definitely be in touch with today.
And about as down-to-earth of an approach as you're going to find.
Call Brillo and give us a chance to wow you.
Brillo. Any exterior remodeling company can give you a lot of good reasons to get a new roof, siding, windows and doors, or masonry work. Aesthetic appeal alone or just resale value help it all make sense. But I'm compelled to continue to tell you what sets Semper Fi apart from the rest. What you're going to get from Semper Fi is a reputation that is backed by an undeniable stack of proof that we are who we say we are. Our character is guided by a level of trust and accountability which not only holds our teams together, but also keeps our reputation intact. And ultimately, that means leaving you satisfied. So when you're about to make that big investment in your home, isn't that what you want? This is Brad Youngluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
Welcome to Jeep Adventure Days at Five Corners. Hi, it's Roman Weininger inviting you to select and save on select Jeeps, Rams, and Wagoneers. You select the vehicle and you select the savings, the biggest savings ever. Select with rebates and discounts on select models. A new Jeep Wrangler and Grand Cherokee, get up to $10,000 off. A new Wagoneer, $9,000 off. And get $8,000 off on a new Ram 2500. We need your trade. We'll give you top dollar for your trade. Trade today. We service small trucks, medium trucks, and big trucks. Trucks are us at Five Corners. Visit us today. Highway 60 Cedarburg.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. We will get to Dave Spano in just a second, but first it's time to name our unhinged liberal of the day.
Make me crazy.
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
Make me crazy.
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil.
Possibly.
America is over.
Today's unhinged liberal of the day is Clara Jeffrey. She is the editor-in-chief of Mother Jones, a far left-wing, well, it used to be a magazine. I don't think they actually publish anymore. It's a far-left website. And on Friday night at about 9:40 p.m., she posted on X the following message. Creeping Christian nationalism alert. An Alaska Air flight attendant just wished us a blessed night as we landed in San Francisco to groans. Other adjectives that would have sufficed. Great, awesome, fabulous, amazing, fantastic. As my roommate said, this ain't Montgomery, sweetie. A flight attendant wishing a lefty journalist a blessed night is creeping Christian nationalism. Now, you're probably thinking, I'll bet you if you go back in Clara Jeffrey's X account, you will find tons of examples of her saying blessed or bless you or God bless so-and-so. You didn't have to go far. 2 days earlier, 7:01 a.m., September 25th, bless Giselle Pellicott, hero, posted by Clara Jeffrey, an apparent Christian nationalist. She is your unhinged liberal of the day. We are about 35 days from Election Day, and we have two competing candidates in Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and of course, two competing tax policies. We bring in Dave Spano, the CEO of Annex Wealth Management, to help you know the difference between said policies. Dave, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. Yes, of course, you talk about the competing policies, and they are dramatically different. Of course, both want to give you tax cuts, right? And that's part of running for office. You know, the fact that you look at the extended tax credit, their child tax credit that Harris wants to extend, and now, of course, she wants tips like Trump as well to be tax-free. But on the other side, Trump wants to extend the Trump tax cuts. He wants tips not taxed. He wants Social Security not taxed. But what people aren't talking about right now is what is the cost to all of this, and how are they going to pay for all these dramatic increases in tax cuts that they want to get. Think about what Harris wants to do: higher income taxes, higher capital gains taxes, taxing unrealized gains, lower estate taxes, higher corporate taxes. All of this means that someone's got to pay for that. I don't hear either side talking about the debt involved in tax cuts.
No, and that's a big issue that never really gets discussed. The Republican theory is always that it balances out because more revenue is created, and essentially that's pretty much been proven out every time in the history of income taxes that there have been significant tax cuts. Revenue has grown. We've entered a place of deep prosperity. The 1980s ring a bell, the early 2000s ring a bell before, of course, the Great Recession. But every single time, the 1960s ring a bell, the tax cuts that were spearheaded by President Kennedy and then passed by President Johnson after Kennedy's assassination, every single time we've cut taxes, we've seen a period of growth.
And the reason why we want to talk about those things is, does lower taxes create growth? You gave us some examples right there, but I want to talk about the debt, and that's something that should be talked about. The fact that right now, for the first time, because of all of the debt in this country, $35 trillion, obviously inflation caused interest rates to go up. That interest on the debt will now exceed the defense budget. And that means it can squeeze out things like discretionary items. Think about, for example, infrastructure bill, education, healthcare. When you have all the mandatory spending and now the interest on the debt outweighing all of those things, these tax policies are going to be very important. It's going to be a big part of the next 30 days. And by the way, I still think there's going to be an October surprise over the next 30 days.
Oh, I think that's almost inevitable, Dave. We see that every single election cycle. We will discuss that and much more on our weekly podcast, The Difference. Dave and I host. It sits at the intersection of politics and economics, and it lives on your iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Coming up after the top of the hour news, we hope to hear from President Biden. We will also get to the latest on Kamala Harris's problems in Pennsylvania. That according to Politico. Stay tuned.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good morning. I'm Ted Allen. Former President Trump's next stops in Wisconsin will take him to the state's Democratic strongholds. The former president will rally tomorrow in both Dane County and Milwaukee. Trump is set to speak to a crowd tomorrow afternoon in Waunakee. Former Wisconsin Governor Tommy Thompson says the former president needs to campaign in Dane County to try and counter the huge Democratic advantage there. Dane County is Wisconsin's fastest growing county and perhaps the most Democratic. After his rally in Waunakee, the former president will hold a rally in Milwaukee tomorrow evening. One of the people shot in one of Milwaukee's two shootings yesterday is fighting for his life. Police say a 46-year-old man was rushed to the hospital in critical condition after a shooting yesterday afternoon. Milwaukee police say they found the man in a car in an alley near 16th and Burleigh. No one's saying who shot him or what led up to the shooting. Milwaukee's other shooting happened yesterday morning, but that victim didn't arrive at the hospital until later in the day. Help is on the way to people impacted by the catastrophic flooding in North Carolina caused by Helene. The state's governor, Roy Cooper, said yesterday the state's National Guard will be airlifting supplies including food and water for counties in western Carolina. The governor released a statement saying people are desperate for help and they're pushing to get it to them. Cooper called the flooding from the storm an unprecedented tragedy that required an unprecedented response. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports scoreboard, the Brewers must wait to find out who their opponents will be in their opening playoff series starting tomorrow. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Ted Allen on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
While most other furniture finishers restore wood furniture using high-pressure water to remove old lacquer and varnish, we only use a chemical solvent. Because when you use water, it will eventually raise the grain, loosen glue joints, and lift veneer. So if you have something really special that you'd like to restore, call us. For the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. If you want your restored antique piece to remain primitive, no problem. Maybe you want to restore it to as good as new condition. We can do that. The way we work is based solely on what your needs are. And that seems to make the process of restoring your unique piece almost always a positive one. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com.
Here's the latest forecast from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Patchy fog this morning. Otherwise, we'll have a mostly sunny day today with high temperatures in the mid-70s near the lakefront to reaching 80 degrees inland. Last muggy day before cool temperatures arrive tomorrow. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Lisa Michaels.
This report is sponsored by Rybar Storage. Are you looking for indoor and outdoor storage for your RV, truck, boat, or car? Call Rybar Storage at 262-672-1967 or visit rybarstorage.com. That's rybarstorage.com, or check out their second facility in Bristol.
This is Michael Lynch from Lynch Truck Center. For the first time ever, Lynch Truck Center is having a massive construction sale on over 400 in-stock trucks, which include Chevrolet, GMC, Kino, and Isuzu. You will not want to miss it. We're adding parking, 7 more truck bays, and expanded parts storage so we can better serve you, our customer. Did you know our experienced sales staff sold more Chevrolet medium-duty trucks and cab overs than all the other dealers in the state combined? With their knowledge on upfits, combined with our service department, we deliver turnkey vehicles for your business, including the right body for your application, bin packages, and even lettered when it's delivered right to your door. As a business owner, has managing your fleet grown into a full-time job? Our fleet department can help. We provide a free fleet analysis which guides you when to trade, help track expenses for maintenance, fuel, and even vehicle tracking. You'll be shocked on the money and time you can save, not to mention having new vehicles under warranty. Visit LynchTruckCenter.com and give us a shot. We won't disappoint you.
Hi, this is David Wilhelm, here to tell our customers that we take great pride in your loyalty. So thank you for making your clear choice for more Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Your clear choice for more Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Need to sell your home fast? Metro Milwaukee Homebuyer can help you with that. Get cash for your home quick, no matter the reason you're selling it or the condition it's currently in. Visit MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com and find out about how you can sell your home fast for cash.
Blue Mountain Express. We're gonna put a smile on your face. We make it easy. BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Blue Mountain Express, moving and storage, statewide.
Jay Weber here. If you're someone who's experiencing shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Find them at orthowisconsin.com. At Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, their physicians are committed to providing the highest quality of joint care and specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center in Pewaukee. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com. orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
It's pretty simple. We do what we say we're going to do because we fully understand that a reputation is never given. It's always earned.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
Be sure to listen to the NX Wealth Management Investment Show Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on News Talk 1130 WISN. NX provides its expertise to arm listeners with the knowledge and tools to invest wisely. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference.
There's only one scheduled vice presidential debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. Listen for live comprehensive coverage of the CBS vice presidential debate simulcast starting tomorrow night at 7 on News Talk 1130 WISN.
Second hour of the Dan O'Donnell Show underway. Dave Spano is talking about October surprises. Producer Dave and I spent the news break talking about what the potential October surprise this year could be. If history is any guide, it's something that's brought up about the lesser-known candidates past. The classic example, of course, just a couple of days, really, before the 2000 presidential election when it looked like George W. Bush was just going to steamroll over Al Gore. Bush's 20-year-old DUI was released, and that probably cost him the popular vote. In 2008, the October surprise wasn't actually an October surprise at all. It was the failure of Lehman Brothers on September 15th and the subsequent panic and shockwaves it sent through the stock market, eventually leading to a recession that started in the spring of 2009. One of the candidates, John McCain, actually suspended his campaign to go back to Washington to work on a bailout bill, and that changed the entire trajectory of that race. In fact, just a week earlier at the Republican National Convention, Sarah Palin, McCain's running mate, gave such an incredible speech, and there was so much passion and so much energy surrounding her that it really was a game-changing pick, and McCain had seized the lead in that election and had all the momentum. September 15th, Lehman Brothers changed all of that. In 2012, the October surprise was the secretly recorded video of Mitt Romney saying that 47% of the country was getting benefits from the federal government and therefore not likely to vote for him because Democrats had gotten so many people dependent upon them for subsistence. The press immediately turned this into the biggest scandal since Teapot Dome and essentially torpedoed Romney's chances. The October surprise in 2016, which some libs still don't forgive the former FBI director for, they wanted it to be Russia collusion, the release of the Trump dossier, which we now know was completely and totally bogus. Everyone was sort of hinting at this idea that Trump was a Russian Manchurian candidate. But the real October surprise was FBI Director James Comey reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails after her emails were found on the computer of none other than Anthony Weiner. Remember him? He was married to, at the time, Huma Abedin, Hillary's top advisor. Pop quiz for you. Do you know who Huma is currently married to? It's not a celebrity per se. Big name in politics. Alex Soros, George Soros's son. That was your 2016 October surprise. 2020, I think everybody remembers this one, Hunter Biden's laptop and the New York Post's report on Joe Biden's rather obvious international corruption. The big difference there is the press had learned its lesson about actually reporting on Democrat scandals. So not only did they refuse to report on this, the deep state got together a group of 51 hacks, former intelligence officials, to all come out and say, yes, this is Russian disinformation, even though they knew it was legitimate. All of the evidence was real because the FBI itself had possession of Hunter Biden's laptop for nearly a year at that point. So there you go. A brief history of October surprises. What we are likely to see is either something come out about Kamala Harris, maybe while she was dating Willie Brown, I don't know, or some global event like Israel targets the leaders of Iran for assassination. Iran tries to invade Israel, something like that. A natural disaster, like a massive hurricane. Hurricane Helene could theoretically count as an October surprise if the federal government's response continues to be as bad as it has been. Well, you've got two critical swing states, Georgia and North Carolina, whose residents are saying, where the hell is the president? Where the hell is the vice president? If that calcifies a whole lot of swing state opposition to the incumbent vice president, Hurricane Helene itself could qualify as the October surprise. The point is that nobody is quite sure. Oftentimes, the October surprise isn't a planted story or something like that. It's just an event close to the election. 2012, also you could say Superstorm Sandy. Remember where Chris Christie embraced Barack Obama while they had their romantic walk on the beach? That was another October surprise, just a completely unforeseen in stock markets. They're called black swan events, things that nobody can predict but have a huge impact on the way markets move. I can tell you how your personal finances could move upwards in the amount of $1,000. First day of the Fall Fortune Cash Contest is today. Second time we're playing is right now. 10 o'clock word in the contest is cash. C-A-S-H, cash. You've got until 55 past the hour to go to our website, enter the keyword cash to enter the contest. If your entry is picked at random, you will win $1,000 in cash instantly. President Biden is stepping to the podium right now to address the nation on the devastation of Hurricane Helene. I'm not sure exactly why Fox News cut away from the president. Here we go. We are now going live to the White House. President Biden talking about Hurricane Helene recovery efforts. Do they not? Oh, it's still Harris Faulkner. It appears that they're having audio issues. Now we go to the president. Thank you very much. Courtesy of our friends at Fox News.
Southeast and Appalachia. Damage from the hurricane stretches across at least 10 states. Winds over 120 miles an hour in some places. storm surges up to 15 feet, and record flooding. Communities are devastated. Loved ones waiting, not sure if their loved ones are okay, and they can't contact them because there's no cell phone connections. Many more folks displaced with no idea when they'll be able to be returned to the home, if there's a home to return to. So we're keeping them all in our prayers, and all the lives lost, and those particularly unaccounted for. There's nothing like wondering, is my husband, wife, son, daughter, mother, father alive? And many more who remain without electricity, water, food, and communications. And whose homes and businesses have washed away in an instant. I want them to know we're not leaving until the job is done. I also want you to know I'm committed to traveling to the impacted areas as soon as possible, but I've been told that it would be disruptive if I did it right now. We will not do that at the risk of diverting or delaying any of the response assets needed to deal with this crisis. My first responsibility is to get all the help needed to those impacted areas. And I expect to be there. Excuse me, I have a cold. I expect to be there later this week. I and my team are in constant contact with the governors, mayors, and local leaders. The head of FEMA, Deanne Griswold, is on the ground now in North Carolina. She's going to stay in Asheville and Appalachia region for the foreseeable future. There's been reports of over 100 dead and the consequence of this storm, and there are reports of up 600 people unaccounted for because they can't be contacted. God willing, they're alive, but there's no way to contact them again because of the lack of cell phone coverage. I've directed my team to provide every available resource as fast as possible to your communities to rescue, recover, and to begin rebuilding. In addition to FEMA, it includes the Federal Communications Commission to help establish communications capability, the National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Department of Defense are going to provide all the resources at its disposal to rescue and assist in clearing debris and delivering life-saving supplies. So far, that's over 3,600 personnel deployed. That number is growing by the day. I quickly approved requests from governors of Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Virginia and Alabama for an emergency declaration. And I approved additional requests for the governors of North Carolina, Florida, South Carolina, and for a disaster declaration to pay for debris removal and provide financial assistance directly to survivors. FEMA and the Small Business Administration are there to help the residents whose homes and businesses were literally destroyed, washed away, or blown away. And the federal search and rescue teams have been working side by side with state and local officials and partners in very treacherous conditions to find those who are missing. And they'll not rest until everyone's accounted for. I want to thank all the first responders and everyone who's been working around the clock. One of the brave teams who's volunteered to be there is from San Diego County Fire Department, set to travel all the way from California to North Carolina to help. But on their way, they were in a terrible car accident in Louisiana. We pray for their full recovery, but it was a bad accident. We know there's more to do. We'll continue to surge resources, including food, water, communications, and life-saving equipment. We'll be there, as I said before, and I mean it, as long as it takes to finish this job. Let me close with this. As president, I've seen firsthand the devastating toll that disasters like this take on families and communities. I've been on the ground in many disaster areas since I've been president. Excuse me, and I've heard dozens of stories from survivors about how it feels to be left with nothing, not even knowing where or when to get back on track. I'm here to tell every single survivor in these impacted areas that we will be there with you as long as it takes. For the sake of yourselves, and your families, I urge everyone returning to their communities and home to listen to the local officials and follow all safety instructions. Take this seriously. Please be safe. Your nation has your back, and the Biden-Harris administration will be there until the job is done. God bless you all, and I'm thinking of those that are still wondering where your loved ones are. Thank you.
That is President Biden addressing the nation for the first time. Is he taking? Oh, he's actually taking questions. We're going to stay with this as the president is taking questions.
Not yet. This is a historic storm. It's devastating. They've never seen anything like this before. And some of them are back-to-back, 3 storms in a row. So it's really, really devastating.
Would you have consider asking Congress to come back for a special session to pass a supplemental?
That is something I may have to request, but no decisions have been made yet.
Do you have a sense of where you'll go when you are able to go, sir?
Yes, I told the governor of North Carolina to go down, and I expect to be down there by Wednesday or Thursday. It would be clear for me to go. You guys have traveled with me. You know, there's an entourage. This can be disruptive.
Can I ask you, can President Trump to be down there today in Georgia? Was that disruptive?
I don't have any idea.
On another issue, on the other side of the world in the Middle East, it's our understanding.
I'm going to stick with this.
What's that?
I'm going to stick with this subject, but go ahead.
Just the fact that Israel may be now launching a limited operation into Lebanon. Are you aware of that? Are you comfortable with their plans?
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now. Thank you.
All right, that is President Biden calling for a ceasefire from all hurricanes. No, I'm kidding. He did say he was going to visit the affected areas, said he had no comment or had no idea about President Trump going down to Georgia to meet with people and to help distribute or help facilitate the distribution of relief supplies, saying that his thoughts and prayers were with those who are still missing loved ones. About 1,000 people are still unaccounted for. Now, this doesn't mean that 1,000 people are dead. What this does mean is that 1,000 people are unable to be reached. Because electricity has been out for so long, that means most people are without cell phones and therefore without any ability to contact the outside world. The scenes from Asheville, North Carolina are almost apocalyptic. It's hard to believe how widespread the flooding is in that city. And as I said in the 9 o'clock hour, I actually have an old friend, 2 old friends, a couple from high school who moved down to North Carolina who live in the Asheville area. And I was at this friend's brother's house on Saturday night. He said they think they're okay, but they haven't heard from them. And that's got to be about as scary as humanly possible because I mean, just the not knowing. And yes, I did see just some of the most disturbing photos that you could imagine. There's one that's making the rounds on social media. It's a mother who was on top of a roof, and she was supposedly taking pictures of her her parents and her 6-year-old son right before the roof that the grandparents and son were on collapsed, and it's feared that all 3 of them have drowned. The mother was wedged in between something, so she was spared. I mean, just the stories about that coming out, it is, beyond politics and talking about Biden's response or how much money we're giving for federal disaster relief versus Ukraine funding. Look, I obviously am very attuned to that, but just at a human level, I mean, my goodness, your heart breaks for people who are affected by this tragedy. We're going to step aside for a break. The Dan O'Donnell Show coming right back with more conservative thought, not just talk.
Countdown is on, and there won't be another presidential debate before the election, but there will be a vice presidential debate. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for the Democrats.
Kamala Harris is going to stand up and fight for your freedom.
And Ohio Senator J.D. Vance for the Republicans.
We're going to close down that border.
2 vice presidential hopefuls go one-on-one for the first and only time. Tomorrow night at 9 Eastern. Hear it right here or listen on iHeart's 24/7 news channel. Just open the free app and search Debate.
Dan O'Donnell here, cordially inviting you on the adventure of a lifetime with Cruise and Tour, sailing Norway's breathtaking fjords aboard the magnificent Celebrity Eclipse, June 13th through the 23rd. The soaring mountainous landscapes, the crystal blue waters, the jaw-dropping glaciers, and the charm of old world Europe, all on one magical trip. We'll spend 2 days in Amsterdam, taking in the beauty of one of the most famous cities in the world, and then we'll board our ship a state-of-the-art vessel with world-class amenities and entertainment, will cruise the fjords, which are almost indescribably beautiful. The mountain vistas rise above amazing ports of call like Molde, known as the Town of Roses, and Olden, a 17th century village at the basin of cascading waterfalls. For more information and to make your reservation, call 800-383-3131 or head to cruise-tour.com.
Get ready. It's time for Anton Salon and M-Spa's annual Boot Talks event just around the corner on October 9th through 11th. Hi, this is Sarah, lead nurse injector, and that's right, 3 days of Boot Talks, all with the best deals at Anton Salon and M-Spa in Delafield. Now is the time to stock up and save on Botox, fillers, Silphium X, laser hair removal, and so much more. October 9th through 11th, let us help you look and feel your best. Check out antonsmedspa.com for details. Life, look good in it.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than what we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with a proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SECURE to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantaged status. So text SECURE to 989898. That's SECURE to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
Kamala Harris is again calling for another presidential debate. Why do you suppose that is? Have you ever in the history of presidential politics heard of a candidate who's winning a race want another debate? That is a classic example. Producer Dave reminds us of the very recent past. Who was the one presidential candidate in the Republican presidential primary? Wide open field. A lot of candidates. One did not take part in a single debate. Donald Trump. Why? Because he was winning by a lot. Every other candidate wanted Trump to be there. Why? Because they wanted to cut into his lead. Kamala Harris is supposedly leading in every swing state. She's leading by 4 or 5 points nationally. But in the swing states, according to Politico, she's got issues. In fact, an article at Politico yesterday is actually titled Kamala Harris's Pennsylvania Problem. Joe Biden's local ties and cultural roots kept him competitive in culturally conservative northeastern Pennsylvania. Harris's prospects in the heavily Catholic working class region there are dicier. As Democrats battle for the state, with Harris as the nominee, their chances of winning in the region or performing well enough there to carry the state are looking considerably dicier. It's not just the loss of Biden, an older white Catholic man with an affinity for the working class from the top of the ticket that worries local Democrats. It's the cultural dissonance with Harris, a Californian and woman of color who has spearheaded the party's post-Dobbs abortion messaging. That profile makes her an awkward fit in a closely watched, economically hard-pressed working class region that's historically been a focus of anti-abortion activity. In other words, northeastern Pennsylvania, to the libs at Politico, is racist and misogynistic because Harris is a pro-abortion woman of color. It's actually not that at all. It's the fact that Kamala Harris is just not doing as well in any swing state as Biden did in 2020. If you had to put a gun to my head and say, what is the Electoral College going to look like right now? I think Kamala Harris wins Wisconsin and Michigan. I believe she loses Pennsylvania. I believe Trump sweeps the Sun Belt, and that's your ballgame. I do believe right now the Electoral College strongly favors Donald Trump. In fact, all of the polls taken of Pennsylvania in the last 3 weeks have showed either a Trump lead or a tie, with the exception of a Morning Consult poll that shows Harris up 5. And if you actually believe that outlier, well, I've got a Primanti Brothers franchise to sell you. You don't know what that is? Well, you will, or at least you would if they kicked out Kamala Harris or Tim Walz. Instead, a Primanti Brothers franchise, which is it's a restaurant, it's a sit-down, fast casual, fast food type joint that's very popular in Pennsylvania, they refuse to allow J.D. Vance to come in and do the traditional meet and greet at the diner. Here's Vance's guy on the ground, recorded by somebody who was in the restaurant on Saturday.
We're not welcome to be here. We're not welcome to have the president here and the senator do not come in here and shake your hand according to the owner. We are going to take down all of your names, and next time you're in town, we're going to have a special event just with you.
Now, you heard the reaction there from all of the patrons when Vance's representative said, okay, they're not letting us in, but we're taking down all of your names, and next time we're back in the Pittsburgh area, we're going to have a special event just for you. That's how you handle something like that. Primanti Brothers, the corporate ownership, put out a statement saying, oh, no, this isn't what it looks like. Yes, it absolutely was. The guy who runs the local shop refused to allow a Republican to come in. Now, working class hero Tim Walz, who will face off with J.D. Vance in the vice presidential debate tomorrow night, Harris is saying, we don't want the vice presidential debate to be the last word. Come on, Donald. I'm winning so much. I want to debate with you again. On October 23rd, an oddly specific date that seems super close to the presidential. It's almost as though Harris knows that Trump is a closer, that Trump has a tendency to pick up all the late-breaking support. It's almost like she knows independents are overwhelmingly likely to break for Donald Trump, and she wants to blunt that momentum by kicking his butt in a debate. This is why the candidate who is losing always wants a debate, and the candidate who is winning doesn't. It's not just Pennsylvania where Kamala is facing some trouble. Michigan, too. So she sent her emotional support buffoon, Tim Walz, to the Michigan football game. They were playing Minnesota. He was wearing Michigan colors. Yeah. Not really a good look. What you say is, look, Michigan, I love you. I'm the governor of Minnesota. You know who I'm rooting for. After the game, however, I actually had to watch this about 4 times to make sure it was real. He's walking through the tunnel where the players go in and out so he could get into his limo and be taken away. And he's waving. He's doing his weird Tim Walz thing where he does like the double hand wave. The guy has really weird, off-putting movements. Honest to goodness, he like skips across stages. He like does the weird jazz hands double wave like you would expect an excited 8-year-old girl to do. So he's walking out and doing his weird double wave, and someone in the crowd yells, "Trump 2024." I thought at first maybe he was pointing his finger. No. He was pointing the middle finger, clearly flipping the guy the bird. I've reposted this on X if you want to check it out and judge for yourself. As this is coming out, Senator Alessa Slotkin, who is in a tough re-election fight against Mike Rogers for her Senate seat, was on a donor call talking with people who she wants to give to her campaign. Now, take this with a grain of salt. This is on a Zoom call, and the video has been obtained of this. She says her polls show Kamala underwater in Michigan.
This is I'm not feeling my best right now about where we are on Kamala Harris in a place like Michigan right now. We have her underwater in our polling.
What I will say to you is why you should take this with a grain of salt is that candidates will always, in fundraising pleas, try to make it sound like they're doing a lot worse than they are. Because if you're doing worse, if your money is badly needed, the donors are likely to give you more money. So take that with a grain of salt. But it also comes as an NBC Univision poll shows that not only is Donald Trump doing significantly better amongst Hispanic voters than either Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, but that more Hispanic voters than ever before identify more with the Republican Party than Democrats.
We ask a basic question of Hispanic voters. Which party do you more identify with? 37% now say Republicans, 49% say Democrats. But again, look at how this has shifted in just the last dozen years. In 2012, this was a 41-point advantage for the Democrats. It has come all the way down to 12 points, Kristen, a 29-point drop in terms of that gap there on which party Hispanics identify with in just 12 years.
That's Harry Enton of CNN. That was the CNN poll. I got that wrong a little bit. NBC Telemundo poll, not NBC Univision poll. NBC Telemundo poll in the field September 16th through the 23rd. Poll of Latino voters, 1,000 registered voters. Kamala Harris leads Donald Trump 54% to 40% by 14. That may seem like a comfortable lead. Guess what kind of advantage Hillary Clinton had amongst Hispanics 8 years ago in the exact same poll? A 50-point lead, 5-0, 69 to 19. Just 4 years ago, Joe Biden had a 36-point lead at 63 to 27. Harris, with a 14-point lead, is cause for significant concern. Folks, I always say, look at polls, sure, but also look at the bigger picture. Look at where candidates are traveling to. Look at what states are considered competitive. Look at candidate actions. It is a big tell. Do you know what the biggest tell was? That Hillary Clinton knew she was not going to walk all over Donald Trump in the 2016 election. That even though every poll said it was going to be a landslide, she knew it wasn't, and she was actually real worried about losing. They had a fireworks show planned for election night after it was announced that Hillary won. The Friday before the election, I'll never forget this because it was a Friday afternoon news dump, naturally, and I was doing news for the Mark Belling show, and I happened to see it. She canceled that fireworks display. That was a big tell. This year, the big tell is that Kamala Harris seems increasingly desperate to goad Trump into another debate. Folks, that is a big tell that her polls, and there has been a persistent rumor going around that both Harris and Trump's internal polls show Trump with a relatively comfortable 3 to 4 point lead in Pennsylvania. There's a story in Politico over the weekend saying, hey, Kamala's got a big problem in Pennsylvania. That's designed to send warning signs to the Harris campaign. Hey, this election is going to be won or lost in Pennsylvania, and you are not winning Pennsylvania without the Catholic Northeast. That, I think, is your warning sign that Kamala doesn't actually have a 5 or 6 point lead nationally, that she's deeply concerned, and I think especially with the hurricane devastating Georgia and North Carolina, you see Trump going down there immediately. Where is he going after that? Tomorrow, he will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a speech at Discovery World, which we will be carrying live on WISN. We will have live coverage of that. Trump is expected to speak at about 5 p.m. And then we will go right into the vice presidential debate. It's going to be a jam-packed couple of days. Now, he's going here. Why would he if all the polls are showing, well, he's down 4 or 5 points in Wisconsin? You would think that's a little out of reach. Trump from Milwaukee is doing an event at Dane County. He's going to Dane County. Waunakee, to be precise. He's specifically targeting Democrat areas because I believe he is trying to pick off some of the Black and Latino and working class white vote. Specifically, the Black, Latino, working class white male vote. I believe the advantage that Trump has among men. Remember, what was the very first thing? What was the very first thing that Kamala Harris did when she entered the race? Do you remember the very first event that she had? Yeah, she went to Atlanta. There's Megan Thee Stallion. Even before that, even before she did the big, well, it might have been right after. It was a Zoom call called White Dudes for Kamala. Why do you think that was first? Because Biden was already struggling with that exact demographic, white dudes. Kamala is struggling even more. I'm telling you, folks, I don't want to give you any false hope, but I'm telling you, I am giving you the most honest analysis that I can possibly give you. When articles like Kamala has trouble in Northeast Pennsylvania, and this could cost her the state. They're not saying, oh, well, she's struggling a little bit, but still very strong. Her chances of winning Pennsylvania are dicier, a lot dicier than Biden's. And this is the thing. Biden always had that connection to the white working class voters, especially in Pennsylvania. Remember, he called himself Scranton Joe. No joke. No joke. He was raised in the steel mills of Scranton. Kamala doesn't have that connection. This is a big problem for her. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Classical conservatism, contemporary style.
Attorney Tom Nichols.
We're often called in to represent businesses in times of need, to help when they're being sued, or, further down the road, to assist with the sale of the business. But we also represent many closely held businesses throughout their entire life cycles. In today's legal environment, having access to quality legal talent on an ongoing basis really is a good cost-benefit proposition. Sometimes a simple, smart step that was made years ago can avoid a major stumbling block today. And that's something that an attorney who's worked with many businesses over their entire life cycle can offer. At Meisner, Tierney, Fisher & Nichols, high integrity and earned respect have been hallmarks of our firm for quite some time. We've been representing businesses here in Wisconsin for over 175 years. Having good legal counsel on your side gives you a competitive advantage now, and peace of mind when the big stuff comes along.
Good clients deserve good lawyers. Meisner, Tierney, Fisher & Nichols. MTFN.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rule.
This is Michael Lynch from Lynch Truck Center. For the first time ever, Lynch Truck Center is having a massive construction sale on over 400 in-stock trucks, which include Chevrolet, GMC, Hino, and Isuzu. You will not want to miss it. We're adding parking, 7 more truck bays, and expanded parts storage so we can better serve you, our customer. Did you know our experienced sales staff sold more Chevrolet medium-duty trucks and cab-overs than all the other dealers in the state combined? With their knowledge on upfits, combined with our service department, we deliver turnkey vehicles for your business, including the right body for your application, bin packages, and even lettered when it's delivered right to your door. As a business owner, has managing your fleet grown into a full-time job? Our fleet department can help. We provide a free fleet analysis which guides you when to trade, help track expenses for maintenance, fuel, and even vehicle tracking. You'll be shocked on the money and time you can save, not to mention having new vehicles under warranty. Visit lynchtruckcenter.com and give us a shot. We won't disappoint you.
Trees on the Move, offering ideas for outdoor living and beautifying with landscape consultation, design, and installation, including retaining walls, paved patios, tree trimming, and more. Trees on the Move's been offering landscape services for over 47 years and now offers stamped and colored concrete drives, patios, and sidewalks. Beautify your yard this year with Trees on the Move. TreesOnTheMove.com.
From planning to planting, Trees on the Move.
Lock in for October.
Brewers postseason tickets are on sale now. Clear your schedule, claim your spot, and be here for a Brewers postseason run you don't want to miss at brewers.com/postseason.
At Kennemarine Heating and Air Conditioning, we know weather in Wisconsin keeps you guessing.
Dad, let's turn on the heat. It's freezing. Wait, Dad, we need the AC back on. It's so hot in here.
No matter the season or the day, we've got you covered. Stay comfortable year-round with a new air conditioner or furnace from Kennemarine Heating. We install same day or next day, starting at $39.95 or 0% financing. Keep your family comfortable. Call or visit KennemarineHeating.com today.
Hey, it's Dan O'Donnell for CertaPro Painters. Let the CertaPro professionals help you choose the right color for your home that you will love for years to come. Free estimates, reliable communication, professional painting, all at the right price. Call your neighborhood CertaPro Painter and ask about their color consultation services. Each CertaPro Painter's business is independently owned and operated. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. When choosing a painting professional, the choice is simple. Choose happy. Choose CertaPro Painters.
At Great Midwest Bank, we've been serving Southeast Wisconsin homeowners for nearly 90 years. Wait, 2024 minus 1935, 89 years. Wow. In our 89 years as a community bank, we've learned a lot about the values of the people who live and work here and appreciate the loyal customers that have made Great Midwest Bank who we are today. Find a location at greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender and member FDIC.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services and host of the Designer Yard Show. Do you live in a home with distinctive architectural charm? Maybe it's a classic Dutch colonial with a timeless gambrel roof, or a prairie-style home with sleek horizontal lines. We admire unique architecture and the beauty of its influence throughout our homes. But does your landscape reflect that same character? At Seasonal Services, we believe the beauty of your home's architecture shouldn't stop at the walls. It should flow outdoors into the landscape. Your outdoor space should embrace the architectural features you love. Since 1994, the architects at Seasonal Services have been blending personal style with architectural harmony. We design and craft outdoor environments that complement the beauty and the character of your home. If you're planning a landscaping project and want to honor your home's architectural charm, call Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services at 262-392-3444 or visit us online at seasonalservices.com.
Attention to quality and detail. At the end of the day, when you're looking for the right home builder, that's what counts. When you're ready to build, schedule a Bellman Homes model tour. You'll see we're the measuring stick for home building quality.
Bellman Homes. Need a tree on the ground now? Cut and Go offers same day or next day half service tree removal. We do the dangerous part, putting the trees on the ground in orderly fashion. You do the cleanup. A Trees and Tons movement. CutandGoTrees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com.
Get started with your no-hassle refi checkup by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com.
Liars, cheats, Democratic politicians, liberal media types. Instead, listen to this.
It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Conservative thought, not just talk. Happened to be watching 60 Minutes last night. And it was, my father-in-law, we're living at the mother and father-in-law's place where our house is being built. And, I got home and we were about to start Sunday dinner. It was a lot of fun. Played games afterwards and read to my daughter after that. It was just a Norman Rockwell type night. But in between football games, my father-in-law puts on 60 Minutes. He loves watching 60 Minutes. I happened to catch a piece on the WNBA and the skyrocketing popularity. They couldn't bring themselves to say it's all Caitlin Clark. They said, well, it's this stellar rookie class of 2024 with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and some other woman whose name I have already forgotten. That's not to dismiss anybody else, but clearly the phenomenon is Caitlin Clark, who's basically like women's basketball's Michael Jordan. There are good players who came before Jordan. Jordan completely changed the game. It was an interview with Clark's teammate, though. And they talked to Caitlin, and they talked to the reigning MVP, Asia Wilson, and Defensive Player of the Year, Nafisa Collier. And it was actually a very, very good, interesting piece. But this part with Aaliyah Boston, who was the #1 overall pick last year, also by the Indiana Fever, one of Clark's teammates, that really piqued my interest.
A rookie salary for the 42-game season, $76,000. Base salary for the MVP, $200,000. Yet the median NBA player salary this season, roughly $12 million.
You talk about this growth and these ratings numbers. What's a fair salary?
I mean, someone like me, I love multiple commas just because, like, we deserve it. That's what we come in here night in, night out. We work hard. You see the viewership numbers up. You see everything up. I mean, I'm all for it because I love a comma.
Like a comma in that salary?
Yeah.
She wants multiple commas because the WNBA players work hard. Do you know why NBA players' salaries are so high? Because the NBA, as you heard, splits its revenue 50-50. This is the agreement that the collective bargaining deals that they sign with the players' union grants them. The NBA has $2.7 billion in annual revenue. The WNBA, despite Caitlin Clark and the massive viewership increase, projected to lose $50 million. If, in fact, attendance continues to skyrocket, TV deals get renegotiated in new contracts, the numbers get astronomical, sure, WNBA salaries would naturally increase. But is it not the typical liberal worldview that I deserve more money just 'cause I am working so darn hard? You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. I'll be right back after this.
This is Mike and Jim from Brillo Home Improvements. Okay, Jim, here's the thing I sometimes struggle with. We have this very down-to-earth approach that we hope appeals to everybody. And after this long, I'm pretty sure it does. But does it always translate to folks that we're completely in touch with style and design that defines today?
Well, that's why we have to talk more about Melissa and Rachel. I mean, with their sense of style and design ideas, they're totally with it and a huge asset to this company.
Yeah, they sure are. Okay. Well, folks, if you're looking for style and design ideas for your home that can range from contemporary to traditional, and a team that can apply current home trends, yet still help make your project timeless, first, go to BrilloHomeImprovements.com and take a look at our latest work.
Then, give us a call, and let's talk about what you want to get started on. For an area award-winning home remodeling that I'll definitely be in touch with today.
And about as down-to-earth of an approach as you're going to find.
Call Brillo and give us a chance to wow you.
I'm Kamala Harris. Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. And I believe we can make that happen.
Kamala Harris's plan? Bring down costs by cracking down on corporate price gougers. Make homeownership more affordable for families. A middle-class tax cut for 100 million Americans. And make sure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share so you can keep more of the money you've earned.
And instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future and how we make it better for families like yours. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
Things are so much different now than what I ever expected them to be when we first started Penny Mustard.
Ben and Arvid Huth, brothers and owners of Penny Mustard Furnishings.
I mean, when we first started Penny Mustard, we had a 3,000 square foot store. At the time, I would have been really, really happy and excited if we just ended up having one small furniture store that was successful. By '99, we had 3 stores in Milwaukee and 2 in Chicago.
Yeah. You know, we've always tried to make the right decisions. I think that's what's gotten us to this point. And the people we hire are like
like us, and they try to make the right decisions. When you do that, you end up satisfying customers, and customers keep coming back.
I'm floored that we've been blessed with God's blessings and our employees and everybody that's helped grow this business to what we are, with a bunch of stores, and I way beyond my wildest dreams.
See more at pennymustard.com.
NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who's just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and one-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Tradition counts. It shows in our undying passion for the green and gold. Hi, this is Terry Lodwick, owner of All-American Window and Door Company. We're also part of a proud tradition. Family owned and operated, All-American Window and Door is your veteran hometown team. Don't let high heating bills throw you for a loss. Take steps now to winter-proof your home. All-American Window and Door Company on Mequon Road in Germantown, 262-255-7170. Estimates are free.
I opened a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments. There's no better vote for your financial safety than precious metals. So Noble Gold Investments is giving away up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with a qualifying account this month. Just use promo code TRUMP. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Bob Tarantino here for EasyHomeBidder.com. A 62 Ferrari sold for $52 million and a 1955 Mercedes sold for $142 million, with both buyers and sellers excited to win. Want to win selling your home? Want to win buying your home? Only EasyHomeBidder.com guarantees maximum sales exposure and maximum buying opportunity. Sell or buy real estate, your big win is waiting at EasyHomeBidder.com. That's EasyHomeBidder.com. Real estate for winners, EasyHomeBidder.com. That's EasyHomeBidder.com.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
There are still 2 regular season baseball games to be played today because of Hurricane Helene. The Mets and Braves games were rained out and moved to a doubleheader today. Now, oftentimes when there are late season rainouts, the games just aren't played if there are no playoff implications. These 2 games have enormous playoff implications involving your Milwaukee Brewers, who are in and have clinched the number 3 seed. However, because they could not catch either the LA Dodgers or the Philadelphia Phillies for one of the best 2 records in the National League, they have to play in the first round series, which is a best of 3. Now, all 3 of those games, starting tomorrow, will be played at American Family Field. However, we still don't know who the Brewers are going to be playing. It's either going to be the New York Mets or the Arizona Diamondbacks. So here's how it could work. The Mets and Braves are playing today. Neither one of those teams has clinched a playoff spot. The games start at, I believe, noon Central Time. So in about an hour, if you're a diehard, you maybe want to have that up on your phone or listening in. I believe you can probably get the game on iHeartRadio or a local station somewhere, something like that. If the Braves win both games, they are in as the number 5 seed. The Arizona Diamondbacks would get in, and the New York Mets would be eliminated. The Brewers would then play the Diamondbacks. If the New York Mets win both games today, they are in as the number 6 seed. That means the Brewers play the Mets. If there is a split, which I would think is probably the most likely scenario. Do you know why? Because both teams own the tiebreaker over the Arizona Diamondbacks. So each team only needs 1 win in order to get into the playoffs. What do you think is going to happen as soon as that first team clinches, do you think they are playing any regular player in a second game? Do you think they might start the shortstop at pitcher? Do you think they are going to burn arms in a second game the day before the playoffs start? Probably not. Let's say Atlanta wins the first game. You're not going to see any reliever that they think they're likely going to need tomorrow in that second game. Therefore, the second game, I mean, who knows? It could be a sweep. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. But to me, if I'm managing the team that wins that first game, I'm pulling people out of the stands to see if they want to pitch. It'd be like Rookie of the Year. Do we have a kid who just broke his arm who can throw the ball 150 miles an hour? Because you are getting in this game, kid. My guess is that the teams will split and the Brewers are more than likely going to play the New York Mets. That said, don't discount the possibility that the Diamondbacks sneak in there. I know that's not who anybody wants to play, given recent history. However, the Brewers are playing very good baseball. I hate the 3-game series. I really do. It is better than a 1-game wild card, Dave, but I just hate that a division winner you do get the advantage of playing at home. You don't have to travel, you're playing in front of the home crowd. I just hate that the Brewers season could literally be over by Wednesday. After everything that they did this season, could be over by Wednesday. I don't think it's going to be. I think this team has a very good shot of winning the whole darn thing. But if producer Dave doesn't agree with me, all right, yeah, let's start with the first series. And yes, LA is probably the hottest team in baseball right now. Brewers have been a great team. All right, out of time for today's show. Back tomorrow, 9:06 here on The Dan O'Donnell Show.